Okay, so I'm out here on the water on this super clear day, and I'm going to take you through the Fliteboard from top to bottom. I'm going to start off down under the water with the powered hydrofoil unit. This is a totally unique innovation to us, the idea of having the motor inside the fuselage itself. And this has got a number of advantages. To start with, what we want to do is have the thrust as close to the lift and the drag of the wings as possible. The thrust is part of the balance, so as you change your power, it changes the balance of the foil. So it's important to have the motor in line with the wings. It's a little bit like a mid-engine car. Alternative designs have the motor 10 centimetres up the mast, and that creates instability and makes it a lot harder to ride. And what ends up happening is you end up kind of porpoising like this as you change the power. And this is why Fliteboard is regarded as being, the best electric hydrofoil in the world to ride. Okay, another great advantage of a powered hydrofoil unit is smallest diameter motor in the market. It's under 60 millimetres. Everything down under the water has a huge drag cost. So it's really important to keep the motor diameter as small as possible, and that creates efficiency, responsiveness, and makes it, so much better to ride and be able to do this. Under the water, you don't want a big motor, you want a small motor because of the drag cost. Water's 750 or something along those lines, times denser than air, and every centimetre under the water is drag. So having the smallest possible motor is the key. Now we've tackled that problem by using a reduction gearbox. We're the only people to do this, and it quadruples the torque at the RPM speed that we're running at compared to a motor without that same type of gearbox. The combination of all of these innovations means incredible responsiveness and also incredible efficiency. I can ride like this for nearly 2 hours on one charge from our Explore battery. The next thing I'm going to talk through is our wings. The wings are a really important part. This is what I'm riding on right now. And what we've done is work with some top-level naval architects who've got experience with America's Cup boats and things like that to develop wings that are specifically designed for an electric hydrofoil. They're not wings that have been repurposed from another type of foiling craft. They're just made for Fliteboard and for the speeds that we ride at, the weight distribution, the position of the battery, all of those sorts of things are really important. And so these wings have been parametrically designed specifically for what I'm doing right now. 25 to 40 k's an hour. We've got 3 wings. We've got our large XL wing, which is launching now. We've got our cruiser wing, which is a great staple. And we've got our fly wing, which I'm right now, which is super responsive. Okay, moving further up the hydrofoil mast, we get to our flight box. So what's flight box? Flight box is our patented module at the top of the mast that does 3 things. It connects the hydrofoil to the board with a very strong connection. It handles cooling of all the electronics by using the entire hydrofoil structure under the water as a heat sink, and it waterproofs all the electronics. This is a super simple plug-and-play system. It minimises connections, and it means you don't need to have water cooling tubes, which can get blocked with sand and they're really messy. So it's a super simple system, and again, it's unique to Fliteboard. Okay, now I'm going to take you through our boards. We've got 3 board ranges. We've got our 175 litre Fliteboard Air, which is inflatable. It's perfect for schools, for yachts, for resorts. It's the board of choice for flight schools all around the world. Then we've got 2 carbon boards, the 99 litre Fliteboard and the 67 litre Fliteboard Pro, which I'm on right now. The regular Fliteboard is really what I'd recommend for most people buying a board. You can learn on it in an hour or 2, and it's really, it's more agile than the inflatable board. Then we've got the Pro, which is great. It's got less swing weight. It's a lighter board. All of the carbon boards are made out of a really sophisticated PVC sandwich construction from the best board factory in the world. They've been making high-end racing sailboards and SUPs for 40 years. This is a full carbon board. It uses a Negra. A Negra is like Kevlar. It's a ballistics-grade, bulletproof material. These boards are very expensive to make. So this board costs probably twice as much to make as a high-end sailboard, which would retail for the same price as the Fliteboard board alone. So there's a bit of bang for buck here. The lid alone costs twice as much to make as a regular surfboard. And that's because it's compression molded carbon fibre. It's got to be able to handle heat and extremes left out in the sun. It's got to be able to handle 100 kilo riders and not flex and warp, which is going to compromise the seal and let water into the battery compartment. So, you know, there's quite a lot involved in making a Fliteboard. And one of the other unique features of Fliteboard is that we've taken all the electronics out of the board. It's all in the flight box, other than the receiver, which is the Bluetooth receiver, which is an easy part to swap and change if you ever have a problem with it if you're a customer. What this means is that if you've got problems with your board, you don't need to ship the whole board back to us. It's just the E4 unit, and that's where, and we can service that, and that saves the board itself from getting damaged. All of these boards are interchangeable. You can buy an Air and then buy a Pro, swap it onto your mast later. Okay, now I'm going to take you through our hand controller, which is this awesome little unit here. It's the smallest unit in the market by far. It's a tiny little thing, which really becomes an extension of your body, and it's got some really unique features. So to start with is our virtual gear system. Again, this is another patented innovation of Fliteboard. As you can see, I'm just holding the trigger right now all the way in, and I'm cruising at a constant speed. I'm on gear level 5. We've got 20 gears. So I'm currently riding about 25 k's an hour. I can go faster by pressing this plus button with my thumb. This is ergonomically designed, so it's easy for you to press these buttons and use the trigger at the same time. Now, if I'm a more advanced rider and I really want to control the speed with the trigger, then I can do that. So I can use the trigger. I'm slowing right down now and speeding up. And combining 20 gears with the trigger gives you an incredible level of control over the Fliteboard. Fliteboard has a GPS unit. So you can see here, I've got my speed. And what that means is that I've also got a trip computer. So this is now telling me that I've done 5.7 kilometers and I've got about 15 kilometers to go. I'm on a sport battery, which is a smaller battery. Okay, this will tell me my elapsed time. I've been riding for 14 minutes. I've got 37 minutes remaining. My maximum speed, the battery level, the handset battery level, my efficiency in watt hours per kilometre. So currently I'm using 54 watt hours per kilometre. It's a super simple board to ride. You just get on and pull the trigger and go. But this information is available and it all gets downloaded into Flight App. Flight App allows you to do software updates into the future, just like a Tesla or a smartphone, so we can keep evolving the board and adding new features. And we also have Flight Track, which is a fantastic feature for replaying your ride. So you'll see your ride replay on a map. You can see pitch and roll, power consumption, battery temperature, and other data, all replayed in your app screen. You can replay it, scrub through, see kilometres, maximum speed, distance for each ride, and share that information with friends. And now we get to the battery, which is probably the most important part of Fliteboard and where a large amount of our development effort and cost has gone. The Fliteboard Explorer uses 196 cells. The Fliteboard Sport uses 140 cells. These are huge batteries, and this is why the Fliteboard battery costs so much. The cells we're using are some of the highest discharge cells available. They're very expensive. We could save $400 to $500 US in cost to us per battery by using a slightly less expensive cell. But we've chosen these cells because they allow me to ride really fast and hard and without overheating the battery or stressing the cells out. And this is really important. We're focused on making the best product in the world, and that means not compromising on things like that. We want you to be able to ride as hard as you can on your Fliteboard without any issues. Our battery case has had a lot of engineering effort put into it. We went through 6 or 7 iterations before we released the final production version. We drop tested them from nearly 2 meters. We pressure test them when we sell them. And we've got a great manual water sensing system that allows you to check if water's ever been inside your flight cell. We've put a lot of thought into the safety features of Fliteboard. So we've got a magnetic arming system where we have a magnet inside the bottom of this hand controller, and before you can activate the board, you need to put that magnet on a magnetic pad on top of the board. It's super simple to do. And what it does is confirms you're actually on the board. Then you've got a 5-second window to pull the trigger. And that removes the risk of accidentally pulling the trigger and running the motor when you don't want to. We also have tilt detection cutoff. So we have an accelerometer in the board and in the hand control. This is an angular sensor like a gyroscope sensor, which we can use for all sorts of other things in the future. Right now, what that does is it detects the angle of the board, and if the board goes beyond a certain angle, what will happen is the motor will cut off. So in a crash, the board will typically cut off before you even hit the water, even if you're still holding your finger on the trigger. So that's a really important safety feature as well. So there you go. All the features of Fliteboard from top to bottom. Probably the most important thing though is the ride. It's just a fantastic ride. It's such a well-balanced machine. We're often thinking about how we can improve it, and we're a little bit dumbfounded, we're a little bit stuck, because this is just an awesome machine. And we encourage you to get out on the water and try one for yourself. Whether that's in a flight school, having a lesson, we've got a number of schools all around the world, and or it might be buying your own Fliteboard.